comment or question comes from Ross in response to website DX2 battery change or worse. He writes, "Hello John, been watching your videos for a while and finally got my DX7 out of storage at my my in-laws after 13 years. Do you know what somebody said on the channel the other day? I can't understand why your Kronos has been in storage for 2 years." And I thought to myself, do you not get it? You know, my circumstances have changed. You know, I can't have keyboards here and I'd like to play different keyboards. Anyway, I was hoping I could pick your brain about problem. It worked fine previous to storage and now it's flashing battery change. At first it was making no sound at all from either internal or cartridge, but works when MIDI'd up to N-Track on my tablet. After a few hours of being left on, I've started to get amusing farting sounds from the cartridge and the occasional correct sound from particular keys, which change dependent on sound selected. I've now restored the internal sounds using a very excellent and concise YouTube video. Makes a change because somebody else commented on the video in a completely different way. And I'm now getting the same results with the internal sounds. Do you think a battery change will bring back the sounds, or is there something more sinister going on? It was stored in the back bedroom away from damp in a flight case. Any help would be gratefully received. Well, as with all these questions, it's kind of a piece of detective work. This is where you get your magnifying glass and your funny hat, and you start doing a bit of detective work, because synths, and especially legacy synths that have been in storage and don't work after they come out of storage, can prove to be a right pain in the bottom. So the bottom line is a battery change will not hurt. In this scenario, the thing is, and this is the recommendation I give to anybody who asks me the question: if you're going to put a synth in storage, make sure you change the battery on it, especially if you're going to put it into long-term storage, or if you think it's going to be in long-term storage for a long period of time, actually take the battery out so there's nothing in the synth to leak. Make sure you know how to restore the sounds, but take the battery out. But what I tend to do is I tend to, if I'm going to put something in storage for a period of time, I change the battery. Or that's what I used to do. Now I've got a list of all my synthesizers and when the batteries were changed, and I work on a 5-year cycle now, so anything that was changed 5 years ago is now just coming up to sort of being replaced, so I will make the effort to go down to storage to get them to replace the battery, just so that the batteries stay current. Although having said that, you know, some of these batteries will last 10 years quite merrily, but I'm not taking the chance on them leaking all over my legacy synths. Anyway, as I say, it won't hurt. It sounds like the keyboard has lost its sounds, which is normally an indication the battery's gone. But the other thing I would do is I'd inspect the boards when you've got the instrument open. I know you said it's been stored in the flight case, but that will not stop electronic components degrading. Things like caps, etc. It could be capacitors leaked, or you could have solder joints that have hardened and become dry in storage. The S50, I've been doing a series of videos on the S50, and the display was intermittent. And when I looked at the display, the circuit board for the display under the microscope, or let's say under the lens, which is hanging up behind me over here. But when I looked at that, you could see the slight cracking in the joints. So I just went over them, used some flux and reflowed, took the solder off and then put new solder in, and that seems to have solved that problem quite nicely. So it could be that. In short, I do not think there's probably something more sinister going on. I just think it's probably just needs a little bit of TLC, reviewing the solder joints, just making sure no capacitors are leaked, that sort of stuff. So hope that helped you out. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. it's very interesting because I'm trying a different setup this afternoon in doing this mailbag session, and I've got the computer displaying video, but there is a visible time lag between me talking and it coming out over here. It's quite disconcerting, actually. Anyway, next question comes from Fernando Viana, and this was in response to a video I did about how to restore the Roland D-110 using Sysex, a video I did in May 2021. Oh, good God, it's that long ago. Anyway, Fernando writes, good afternoon. To restore the Roland U-220, should I follow the same procedure? Good question. Good question. Very good question. And I have to admit that I wasn't sure how to answer, as my U-110 and U-220 were both in storage at that time and I couldn't really easily test it. First thing to notice is the D architecture and the U architecture are different. They are different units. They work in a different way. The D series is a synthesizer and constructs sounds by an initial LA sample and then changing the parameters of how that sound is generated. Whereas the U series is effectively a Roppler. It's PCM sampled sound. You get very little choice in how you shape and generate the sound. So the fact that they work in different ways and the sound generation works in different ways, the answer is probably they're not the same, but I suspect the actual procedures that you follow are going to be relatively similar. I think similar. Okay. Now, my understanding is the U-220 comes with a base set of sounds. You can add through SN U-110 cards, and they contain the sounds from the Roland Sound Library. And I do not think that other cards were released on this platform, unlike the D series, where companies like Ritter, Sound Source, etc. also released ROM cards. So, like the U-220, the U-220 holds its base sounds on an onboard ROM chip, and the factory parameters and sounds can be restored effectively, I think, by reinitializing the unit using the ROM chip. I will caveat this that I haven't done it in a long while. Next time I go to the storage facility, I will try to remember to bring back the U-220 and do a video for this. But if anybody has any advice on this one, please jump in comments below as per normal to help out Fernando, although I suspect by now he's probably worked it out.